Hi there everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to work on a bit of a pet project, and it's something I've wanted to work on for a long time. Here is what you see here is essentially the remnants of my old guard army from like forever ago. I use these guys as conscripts, and you can see of course I've got the white banding from the white shields from the novels and all that, and this is kind of what's left over. You'll see the fabric is pretty mucky, and I used a lot of brown inks to kind of make this happen, but I really like the look and feel of the army, and yeah, so I ended up selling it off to kind of finance a couple other projects. And what I'm going to do now is, for this project, I've got, you guessed it, a whole bunch of second ed Cadian dudes. And so I'm going to work on my first platoon here and kind of how to set them all up. And there they are. So I got a flamer, I got 9 other dudes, and I've got a sergeant, and it looks really, really cool. So what my plan is for these is I'm going to do them up in the classic Cadian colors, and I want to use them for the narrative stuff that we're going to be shooting in the next little while here. So I've got a ton of these guys, like tons and tons and tons. So probably 2 full platoons with heavy weapons and special weapon squads and all that stuff. So this is the plan. So I've got these guys all based up. I'll start with the first squad, and I guess this video is going to be entirely about just the base colors and how I'm going to paint them. So without further ado, something different, something new, let's get this going. Alright, we've got the boys all primed up in Corax white, and I'm going to be batch painting the whole squad as we go. So every time I do a detail on one, I'll pass it on to all the other ones as well. So let's start off. So I'm going to be starting off here with Carrick Stone, and that is essentially going to be our flak jacket for our guys. So I wanted something that looked a little bit kind of Kevlar-y, something that would be worn over top of their standard Cadian green fatigues. So with the Carrick Stone here, I'm just going to paint anything that is the flak jacket part. And on top of that, I'm going to be doing, they've got these little shin guard, kind of padded armored shin guards in here as well. So I'll paint those as well. So just the front of the boot. Okay, so with the Carrick Stone all done now, what we're going to do is work on the uniform colors. So we'll use Castellan green, and I'm going to use it for the helmet, for the lasgun cowl, and for his uniform colors. So let's get going on that. So I'll start with the pants right away. I'll be covering the pants. I'll also do the helmet here. I've got a little more. I'll do the helmet. Now the strap, there's a strap that goes across the top of the helmet here. And these little bits and bobs of the helmet that kind of hold the strap on. And then on top of that as well, I'll do the cowling for the lasgun. So all these bits and pieces, but I won't cover the aquilae there or any of the metal bits. All right, so all the clothes, the helmet, and the cowling for the lasgun. Okay, as I was working my way around, I also noticed that we were missing the scabbards. I forgot to do those as well. So we're just going to go over top of the scabbards for their swords. Anything metallic really that isn't kind of a strappy type setup. Those will all be done in that Steel Legion drab in just a sec here, but anything that's got kind of a metal or armored quality to it, we'll put in the Castellan green. Okay, with the Castellan green all done now, you can see that we're starting to get a nice bit of contrast between the khaki style color there and the Carrick Stone and the fatigues and the armored pieces there as well. So next up, ironically enough, we're going to use Cadian flesh tone, and we're just going to do a nice gentle coat over all the flesh, including the fingers, the arms, any of that. So obviously we don't want to clog up our detail, so just taking it nice and easy, and we'll work our way around. With the flesh tone all done, we can now move on to the leather strapping, the boots, and any of the accessories that they kind of have. So let's grab a little bit of Steel Legion drab here, and I'm going to go after all of the boots. So I'm going to be careful not to get that Carrick Stone on the little shin guardy things there. So I'll work my way around, and everything on here can pretty much get the Steel Legion drab treatment. On the pouches, obviously, we'll put the Steel Legion drab. On the belts themselves, there's some vertical strapping here as well. So I'll make sure that I get those. And then in addition to that, I want to make sure that I get the wraps around the canteens. So I'm going to go through here, and I'm just going to get the wrap around the canteen. Now, there's that little bit of iconography, that guard iconography on the canteen there. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just move my way around it, and then I'll come back and get that in a bit. Now, on some of the other models, you're going to have these kind of camping blankets all wrapped up here. So I'll just make sure I get the strapping inside of those as well. Okay, to be revisited. And on top of that, bring him back into frame here. On top of that, I want to make sure that I also get, there's some strapping on the helmet here. So I'm just going to go across the top, grab the strapping at the front. And then, of course, we get these little peek outs on the side here where the strapping comes through. And then finally with the strapping, we've got the front of the flak jacket here, and then the chin strap on the helmet. All right, I'll just carry this on with the rest of the guys. With all the strapping and the leathering done, we're now going to work on our bedrolls with Screaming Skull, and it's going to be just super simple. Grab a bit of this here. Put the Screaming Skull on the bedrolls, of course, leaving the strapping intact and making sure we get into all the rolls of the bedroll here. And then finally, we're going to hit all the metal parts here with our lead belcher. And shake it, shake it, shake it. There's lots actually on our models. I'm going to start off with obviously we've got all the other pieces of the las gun here. So we've got the barrel and the little cooler rod down at the bottom here. We've also got any of the iconography, so the little Imperial Guard symbol here. The stock of the weapon, the handle. And then there's a little bit more on some of our guys. We've got the guard icon across the top of the chest. Don't want to go in too thick. We've got the guard icon on the shoulder. And at the back, we've also got another one on the canteen. Just base coat that in. We'll do the cap of the canteen. There's a little ring at the back we can sneak in on, and of course the little bits of the strap on the back. So I'll work my way through. I'll get all the symbology of all the guys. I'll get all of the las guns. I'll get all the scabbards of the swords, all the grenades, things like that. So I just got the top two, the sight line of the las gun there, and then I also want to grab any of the guys with grenades. So there's one kind of tucked in here. I'll do the grenade. I'll do the rest of the las gun, and I also want to do the scabbard as well. Now I'm sticking away from any gold on these guys. I figured the line infantrymen wouldn't get the very ornate stuff, and they wouldn't want it pretty bright either. They'd want to be kind of hiding in the trees or in the forests or what have you. So alright, I'll finish off on all of that, and I'll work my way through with lead belcher on all these guys. Okay, now with the metallics all done, I also went ahead and finished up our basing here, just basic colors that I use, and now we're going to be ready for the wash. After making sure you did the upside down check, make sure you got all the colors everywhere, make sure everyone was nice. Now it's time to do our big wash. So my wash that I'm going to use is kind of a custom wash. It is 25% Agrax Earthshade, 25% Nuln oil, and then 50% floor wax. So just anywhere, kind of floor wax you get from any hardware supplier or Walmart or anything like that. So the flow aid attribute of the floor wax is awesome. So I'm just going to cover up all my models here, make sure I get all the metallics, everything, and I'm going to keep going throughout the entire squad, and I'll just do a quick dummy check to make sure that I don't get any pooling. Like you can see right here, there's a little bit of pooling on the flak jacket, so you just kind of touch that up with your brush. You can soak it up like a sponge. And yeah, we don't lose too much of the color, but we'll come back in and do all the major highlights next. Okay, we can see here that we've got the wash all finished up, so brought lots and lots of detail in our model, and now we're going to move on with the task of just going back over the major highlights, so leaving a lot of that definition as determined by the wash there, and just going in over those major highlights again. So we'll start back with our process now. We're going to go back to our Carrick stone, and I'm just going to go over all of the khaki areas of the flak vest. And so again, the process super simple, just going to go over all of the major highlights and still leaving that depth inside where that wash was. Alright, with the flak jackets redone, the major highlights here, we're going to do Screaming Skull as an edge highlight for the flak jackets and for the bedrolls as well. So start with the bedrolls here. I'm just going to go in here and just pick up the majors of the bedroll, and that'll be kind of the final highlight for the bedroll. Just touch this up nicely in here, so it's super fast, nice and easy. And then I'm going to go in and edge highlight all of the armor for all the flak armor here, and I'll just go around carrying that on. Now, it doesn't have to be everywhere. Of course, I just use it as a tool to define between the two lines here. So you'll see we've got, if I go in here, you can see here that I'm just going to do like just some of the edges of the flak armor. Get a bit more paint on the brush here. I'm just going to use it to just kind of define some of the very edges of the flak armor without maybe doing an edge highlight all over. So I'll do one just in this corner here, match it the corner on the flap there, and then I'll go through and just pick out some of the extreme edges because the khaki color is kind of nice, and it's gradiated from all the shade as well, the wash. Alright, so I'll continue along with this on all the guys, and then we'll come back and do the strapping. Okay, with the highlights and the bedrolls done, we'll now move on to the strapping. We're going to use Steel Legion Drab. We'll do the strapping on the helmet, the vest. We'll do strapping. We'll do the boots as well. So let's start moving our way through here. So let's start with just the basic strapping on the chest. So I'm just going to go over, I guess, what would essentially be the majors on the flak jacket, and then we'll do the boots as well. So just go over top of just the majors, leaving that nice little bit of shading in there. And you're almost just kind of running your wet brush across the tops of all the highlights, just to bring a little bit of that color back. So you're always watching to see where the shade goes. Okay, now in addition to that, I'm going to work on the strapping at the back. So we'll work on the strapping at the back. And then on top of that, we'll just do a quick highlight over top of the pouch here. And of course, our canteen. Just going to go over the majors of the canteen. Again, always making sure that we've got that wash looked after. And then finally as well, we'll do the helmet. Bring that into focus there. Let's go back over and do the majors of the helmet. And you can leave a little bit of shading here and there for effect, but you want to just restore a chunk of that color. Okay, and then finally we'll apply a little bit of an edge highlight of Carrick stone to the strapping and the harnesses and the pouches and boots and all that. So it's just going to be a very light kind of edge highlight and super easy on the hands here. Just go through and just touch the edge to give it just a little bit of definition on your strapping. And then on top of that we'll also do the pouches. Just give a little bit of light back to those pouches, and on the boots as well. So just kind of over the shinier parts of the boots, the strap. And we'll highlight anything that we did in that Steel Legion drab. All right, marching on with our highlights here, we're going to go back and rebase in some of the Castellan green onto anything that was green before. Again, leaving all those low lights in there, all the bits of shading. So essentially, I'm just going to go in here and grab the las gun and just leaving all those little bits of detail in there, but just restoring some of the depth of that green. And then we'll also do the fabric of the fatigues here. We'll just touch those up. On the knees it's a little bit easier to see because there's some defined lines there. So we'll just kind of poke in that color back into it here. And then of course we'll do the helmet as well. And again, leaving all those recesses still intact. All right, so what we're going to do now is anything that was that the Castellan green, we're now going to highlight with the Strachan green. And the Strachan green is, the green's a little tricky to highlight because there's some rounded edges. So with any of the hard edges, like the las gun here, it's going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be like a straight up edge highlight over the green. So any of the straight lines we'll just do in the Strachan green like a straight line, which is good. And then any of the fabric folds, we're just going to pick out, get an angle here, we're just going to pick out the highlights of those folds. So the nice thing about painting under kind of bright lights, well obviously to film it, but the nice thing about painting under brighter lights is that you can actually see where the light falls. And you can just go in and just tap on top of that fabric there, wherever the light falls. So brings the highlight in really nicely. And then for anything rounded, like the helmet, it's almost going to be like our overbrush, so almost like a dry brush. So I'm just going to grab my brush and slowly move it closer. There we go. Slowly move it closer and just get a little bit of a highlight on the top, just to bring out a little bit of that shine. Okay, with the highlights to all the green done, we're now going to work on our metallic highlights. So we're just going to grab Runefang Steel, as the silver is the only metal that we have in this mix. And I'm just going to go over top of all of the edges, all of the defining edges of our silver. So with the las gun and stuff, I'm just going to, on the barrels, I'm just going to do a thin line across the top, just wherever the light would hit it. On the iconography here, I'm just going to just very gently brush over top of that, just to give it just a little bit of pop to bring it out. And I'll do the same on the chest. And of course our shoulder iconography. And again, just dragging the edge of the brush around those details. So I'll do the stocks, I'll do the, the canteens, any of the clips here at the back, anything that we did in that lead belcher before the wash, we'll just touch that up. And if you happen to have a scabbard or a knife, then of course we'll just drag our brush over top of those and edge highlight around the scabbard as well. All right, then we'll go back over our facial tones and our arms in here as well with Cadian flesh tone. Again, just picking out all the major kind of highlights to those pieces. And then we'll refine. Bit of a mess up there. No problems, got lots of green, everything's good. All right, so then I'll go in here and I'll just focus on his nose, his cheeks, all that. Maybe you can just get a little bit off and just do a quick overbrush of the face. And then while that is still, I don't know if wet or so, but it dries really quick. It's just a very small layer. While that's going on, I'm also going to go in and then go with Kislev flesh and just pick out the extreme kind of highlights of the facial features wherever the light lies. So I'll just go in and touch up with Kislev flesh. All right, so that, as far as the painting goes, takes us to the end. I'm just going to do, and this is an option for you as well, but I really like it. You know, blacklining the model gives a lot of pop. It really defines the colors and the shape of the model and all that. So I'm going to take my Micron 005 pen here, and I'm just going to go in, and again, wherever two colors meet, I'm just going to go and draw a little black line. And also, whenever there's a seam or anything like that, I'm going to draw that in as well. So I'm just going to work my way around the model. And you can see it really pops out the individual details of the model. So I'll continue this on with the rest of the squad. I'll then finish up the basing. And then I will be back. All right, so the blacklining is all done, the bases are all set up, and oh man, do they look awesome. I love these second ed models. They are old, but they have tons of life and animation and personality to them, so really looking forward. So this is the first squad for the 13th Battalion for my Cadians, and after the fall of Cadia and reading all that, I just wanted to kind of bring these guys back and have them be these lost guys that had to don on this old, outdated armor and bring the fight back to the Chaos guys. So really digging this. But that is it. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, as it really helps get the video out there, guys. It helps the channel out a ton. If you're interested in more videos just like this, please subscribe to get notifications of all of our future videos. And I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was of value. And feel free to leave any comments or questions down below. And we'll see you in the next video.